Hello, my name is Megan O'Russell, and welcome to episode 7 of A Book and a Dream. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about imposter syndrome. Now, for those of you who have never heard of imposter syndrome, it is defined as the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Yeah. So basically, what that's saying is you can't believe that you deserve the success that you've earned, that you have, through your hard work and skill, actually accomplished things. I have like a massive problem with imposter syndrome, not gonna lie. So, a few days ago, I was a guest on the wonderful Style Your Life podcast. I will leave a link to their podcast with the show notes. Now, I did some listening to their episodes before I was a guest, to be responsible and do my research like a professional. And as I was listening to the episodes, I was astounded by how put together all of the guests were and how on top of their lives they sounded, and they knew how to help you and make you grow. And it was amazing. I was taking notes, which was not why I was listening to the podcast, but it ended up happening anyway. So I go to record the episode of the podcast, and the hosts are lovely. And we're talking about my author journey, how I got from starting to write to having 15 novels out and novellas and having done it all myself over the past year. And we're talking about it. And I really did do those things. I know I did. I have the files on my computer to prove it. But as we're talking about it, I still was sort of hesitant as to what I could offer. And then they were like, oh, what's your biggest problem for you? And of course, I naturally said confidence. And they were like, but you've done all these things. And I was like, well, yeah, I have, but I never feel fancy. I never feel like I deserve praise or congratulations or anything like that. So it was very weird for them to be like, but look at all these books you've published and, you're making a living with your writing and that's amazing. And it is amazing and it's cool, but I do not feel fancy at all. And the interview went well, and I gave some sage wisdom about, publishing and what to do when, your entire publishing career falls apart around you, and persistence and, helpful things. But I still felt like everyone here is so fancy but me. And we get to the end of the show, and the hosts have just published an awesome book about making your relationship stronger. And I was chatting to them about formatting and selling books on Amazon. And I was like, oh, well, have you checked your categories? Because, you should make sure your categories are right. And did you know you could have 10? And also, vellum is amazing. And as I was sitting there just casually being like, oh, and these are things that are going to make your life so much easier, I realized that I do know things. And that made me feel even more awkward, which is why I want to talk to you about imposter syndrome, because I am not the only one who has this problem. It is persistent in all kinds of art. It's in my theater life. It is in my musician life, in my book life. I constantly meet people who are so talented who just don't get it. Now, there are those people who are, born confident. My husband is a great example. He's like, oh yeah, I know music. I'm good at music. Absolutely I am. I don't know. It must be some gene that skipped some people. So for the people who got skipped by that awesome gene, it doesn't matter if you're a writer or an artist or whatever, but it is you. It is you that I am talking to. You are worthy and you deserve to take up space. So I was on Twitter a couple days before I recorded the Style Your Life podcast. And for me, I can write quickly. I love writing. I love storytelling. The part where the nerves and the block come into play for me is in that last round of editing, because I have a tendency to start picking apart every single sentence to make sure it's absolutely perfect. So I'll spend like 10 minutes on a sentence, which is a little absurd if there's only 5 words involved. But I do that. And then I like flip back 10 pages to make sure I didn't ruin it. And then I'll keep going. And it's just this horrible self-doubt that doesn't set in until that final editing stage. And so I was on Twitter and I was like, okay, writing community, which if you're a writer, hashtag writing community is a great resource on Twitter. Lots of people understand the struggle. And so I tweeted to hashtag writing community and I was like, please help me feel better about myself. Who else gets the horrible self-doubt at this stage? And of course, there were lots of people commiserating and other people being like, no, you're doing a great job, which is lovely. But then one gentleman tweeted back and was like, no, you should feel good about it. Like, if you feel worried, you can send me a sample and I'll read it for you and see like if it's good. And I thought, what a lovely gentleman to not only respond with like a happy emoji, but to offer his time. That's such a generous thing. And before I had processed that that was such a generous thing, I get another tweet from him where he's saying, I didn't realize you were so fancy. You have all these books published. I'm still working with my beta readers. I have no right to criticize on your writing. I'm so sorry. And it sort of held this weird mirror up to me because I didn't think that he was overstepping in any way. I thought he was being a really nice person. And I realized here's this guy who's on his first manuscript. He's doing it right. He's going to beta readers. And he doesn't feel like he's fancy enough to be a part of this community. And that was such a hard thing to watch because if you've written a paragraph, you deserve to be a part of the community. Of course you do. You should be here. And then what made it worse was that he gave me this epic advice that someone had given him, and he was passing on this sage wisdom, even though he prefaced it with, I know I'm in no position to give you advice, which is not true at all. But he said that one of his professors said that writing was like a Rubik's Cube. You get one side set and then you have to mess it up in order to get the other sides to work, which is amazing advice from this guy who said, I shouldn't be giving you advice, but sage wisdom, pearls of wisdom from Twitter. It's amazing. And I realized through the Twitter Rubik's Cube interaction that I can't encourage people to own their success and embrace their part in the artistic community or any community if I don't at least start trying to make myself believe that maybe I know what I'm doing and I've succeeded for a reason, but I'm working on it. So since I'm working on it, I want to encourage you to work on it too, because there is a space in the writing community, the music community, the theatrical community for everyone. And you should not apologize for your achievements if you are doing really well, and you should not feel bad about the small accomplishments you've managed if you're just beginning. If you bought some paints and you're working on a canvas and maybe no one can tell what your picture is supposed to be of, but you're working on it, you're a painter. If you put aside time every day or once a week or whatever to work on singing, you're a singer. You have a spot. Not everyone needs to have a mass of novels published on Amazon to be a writer. You don't have to be in a museum to be an artist. There is a place for you, and you should own it and be there and be a part of it, because you are going to learn and you are going to grow by investing yourself in that process. And so I've come up with a little challenge for you, which I too am going to be trying. Next time you feel like in your job, in your art, whatever the situation is, you feel like you don't deserve to be there, write yourself a list. Not like a fancy resume, but like a personal diary resume. So let's say you are a writer, you are an author. You only have a couple paragraphs written. Write down that you did those paragraphs because you did it. And whether or not you feel confident from it, write it down. That is an achievement you have. Let's say you started a blog, you have 5 blog posts. That's another achievement. That is more words of yours that you're putting out there. If you're a singer and you learn some new material, write that down. If you're further along your journey, if you're an author who's still submitting, write down all those rejections that you've gotten from the literary agents, because that is a part of the process. Even though you're getting rejections, that's still success. That's you trying, that is you pursuing. And yeah, the rejections hurt, but it's going to make success feel all the sweeter. If you're an actor and you feel like you don't deserve your place on stage, look at all the shows you've done. Look at all the audiences that have seen you. You have earned your place. So write it down. Keep a list. I am going to write down the books that I have written, even the ones that I haven't published yet. I am going to make a list. I am going to make a list with how many blog posts I've done on Life Beyond Exaggeration, on Megan O. Russell. I'm going to write that down. The kid shows I've written, they can go on the list too. The lyrics for musicals I've written, I'm putting them on the list because they are all things that I have actually done. And I'll probably never feel fancy. That's okay with me. I'm not a fancy person by nature. I don't think I like that anyway. But I have accomplished things. I have accomplishments. And that is something that I should not allow myself to deny. And you should not allow yourself to deny your accomplishments either. So put them down where you can see them. And next time you say, I don't belong here, look at your paper. You have earned it. You have worked. You deserve a space. So take up your space. Do it. I believe in you. Now, if you would like to keep listening to A Book and a Dream or watching, we have a video version and a podcast version because that is something that we have accomplished around here. There you go. I'm going to put that on the list too. Then make sure you like or follow or subscribe. Share your list. Put your list in the comments below or let me know if you have really bad imposter syndrome too, because the struggle is so real. It is so real. But make sure that you like, subscribe, follow, whatever. Look up the podcast if you're a podcast person, you're on video or vice versa, whatever. And I will see you next time. You're going to be great. I believe in you.